yourself on some of it. So, and I can post this answer key, I guess. I'll post it under my TA material section if you all want to go back and look at it, because we're about to write all over it. So, number 1, a population is defined as, who wants to tell me how they answered it? What's population?
C.
Okay. Good. Why?
I mean, like when they take a population, like I thought it was people, say the population of a town is 1,000. They don't take into account like the animals that live there, the trees, so it's people.
Come on. Okay, we're just going to write. It's just not going to work for me either. Come on. Okay, I'm going to have to pull up whatever Dr. Arnett uses. Give me 2 seconds. EpiPen. Or Epic pen. Whatever. All right. Maybe this is going to work better. Okay, there we go. So that's the key, right? It's a single species in one place. So what would a group of cells be? What's A? Okay. What's B? What's multiple species? If I wanted to count the squirrels and the humans and the maple trees on campus, what would that be? Good. Okay, this thing is really hard to write on. All right, what's the Earth? Biosphere. Good. And I just realized that doing it this way, I will not be able to upload my notes, so I will do that tonight because it's actually on the screen. Whoop. I don't need to draw. This is a lot harder than it looks, guys. Okay, that makes sense? Perfect. See, don't love this. Oh, now you're drawing? Okay. Choose the correct order of organization from largest to smallest. Which two should we be able to cross out immediately? A and B. Good. That's out. That's out. Okay? Now between C and D, which one's right? D. Good. Why is D right? Because the community is multiple species. Good. And a population is good. Am I recording? Oh, shoot. Yes, I am. Okay. I always have like paranoia that I forget to record. All right, I hope all of you all love my creativity with this one. Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, a red alien species lives on a red planet. So the blue aliens are eaten more frequently by their predator. But a huge chemical shift happens, turning the red planet blue. What's going to happen to the overall population?
Red's going to decrease.
Red's going to decrease, right? So that would be A. So red's going to decrease and blue's going to increase. Why?
Because the blue will be easier, it's like harder to see.
Uh-huh. So then the predators will
Eat the red.
Uh-huh. 2 key things of evolution. Dead things don't make babies. Predators are lazy. So predators are going to eat what they can see the easiest. And if you're dead, you can't make a baby. So if the red alien species are getting eaten before they reach reproductive age, then less red species will be born. Yep. Good job, guys. Y'all are killing this. Okay. Oh, Don't do that. No, okay. All right. According to cell theory, what's not true? Okay. We know that's not true. Good. All right. So that by default means cells are the lowest level of life. All cells are enclosed by a membrane. We talked more about the cell membrane today and what that entails. And all cells use DNA for genetic material. Those are the 3 key concepts of cell theory. So pretty much anything else I put in there is just not true. But there is a specific type of cell that has membrane-bound organelles. Does anybody know that? What's it called? It's okay, we haven't gone over it. Okay, so eukaryotic cells have membrane-bound organelles. We should go over that, I want to say Monday. Okay. Deductive versus inductive. I know that this was kind of a little bit of a difficult concept, something that you all struggled with on the pop. So who wants to walk me through how they answered number 5?
The way I answered it was deductive is like detective, so you have different details telling you one specific conclusion.
Good. So which one did you choose from that?
Let me look again. I picked I got it right, but I forgot what I put. Hold on.
That's okay. Who else knows?
Oh, I put B.
B. Good. Good. So all zebras, I got very creative with this. I hope you guys can appreciate it. All zebras eat grass. Kyle is a zebra, therefore he eats grass. That's about one zebra named Kyle. Okay? Now, if we're looking at the flip side of that, photosynthesis occurs in kale. That's one plant species. Therefore, it occurs in every green leafy plant. So I'm taking one plant species, and I'm saying because it does photosynthesis, everything that's green and leafy does it as well. And this one I put in there specifically because this is true. And in class, she done a couple examples that was like, Harold is a grandfather, he's bald, so all grandpas are bald. And we know that's not true. We know that some grandpas still have hair, but this is true because everything that's green and leafy does photosynthesis. So I really wanted to focus on just because it's inductive does not mean that it's not true and does not mean that it's so off the wall. It's taking one piece of evidence, one plant species, and saying it occurs in everything that looks like it. All right? Green bacteria reacts to light. Therefore, all bacteria are attracted to light. Why is that not deductive? Why is that inductive? Good. Good. So you have one type of bacteria, green bacteria, and then you're saying all based off of that one type. Exactly right. Now the flip of this, which is an example of inductive reasoning. Who wants to tell me what they put for that? C? Okay. Why'd you pick C?
Because it goes from one creek that has a high pH due to acid mine drainage, and like the body conclusion that all creeks that are affected by like a higher pH.
Good. So it takes one creek, and it says, therefore, all creeks that are affected by acid mine drainage have a high pH. Good job. And then A, I really stole her example from class. We have Carl, who has his DNA and fingerprints are on the murder weapon, therefore he's the killer. That's a lot of evidence to one solid conclusion. Therefore, it is deductive. Good. And then we have all people are mortal. Bobby is a human, therefore Bobby is mortal. That is saying that everybody is mortal. So I'm going to take all of this evidence and I'm going to say this one person is also mortal. Good job, guys. Okay. Now we're moving on to IVs and DVs. So these are like parts of an experiment. So you're testing the shelf life, the amount of time that an apple is good to consume of different types of apples. What's the independent variable? First of all, who wants to tell me what an independent variable is? What's an independent variable? It's what you change. Good. In this experiment, what are you changing? Good. So you're changing the types. Whoop. You're changing the types of apple. So that's your IV. That's what I change. Good. Now, the same experiment, what's the dependent variable? What are you measuring? Good job, it's the time. So, this is Stevie, what you're measuring. So, if I were to make a graph of my data, what would go on the y-axis and what would go on the x-axis? Yes, good. Good. So if I were to make a graph, we're going to do types on the bottom and then time here, and then it's going to be a nice little bar graph like that. Okay? So your IV always goes on that on that x-axis, and the DV always goes on the y-axis. Okay. I do that every time. All right. Same experiment. What do you need to make sure is controlled? Good. Why do you need to control the temperature? So if it's hot, would something rot faster? Yeah. Okay. So let's say this is my experiment. I'm taking a bag of Granny Smith apples and I'm going to put them in the fridge. And then I am going to take a bag of Golden Delicious apples and I'm going to put them on top of the refrigerator. Which one's going to rot faster? Yes, on top of the fridge because you have that heat. So if I really wanted to compare the shelf life between Granny Smith and Golden Delicious apples, I would need to make sure that that is the only factor that's changed, that everything else is the same. Good job. All right. I literally hate this so much. Choose the correct order of these ideas from smallest to largest. Which two should I automatically be able to get rid of? C and D. Good. So we know hypothesis is the smallest because, excuse me, what are the two factors of a good hypothesis? Good. Testable and falsifiable. Good. So think a hypothesis is something that you do in lab every single week. You have some kind of a hypothesis that you are testing. Was the Alka-Seltzer lab first? See, you made a hypothesis with the Alka-Seltzer lab, and then you tested it. That's something that you can do. Now, Which one is smaller, law or theory? Law. Good. Now, this is where I think she could come up with a simpler law than Boyle's law. What's that? The law of gravity. Exactly. Now, does the law of gravity explain? Does it explain a lot? No. Just explains why we're not floating, flying through space. That's one singular thing. But millions of people had to test it. We had to, I don't know, drop a bunch of stuff. I don't know how they tested it. But a lot of people had to test it. And a lot of people had to come to this conclusion. But it's not all expansive. It's one concept. Okay? So we're right. B is correct. So a theory is like cell theory. We've talked about this a bunch in class, and we're about to do a whole unit on it. So cell theory describes cells are the lowest level of life. All cells have a membrane. All cells have DNA. All cells do this, that, blah, 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 blah. And it's like 10 miles long. And a lot of people through centuries had to do research. And all of these laws came together to form a theory, to form this very broad idea that covers a lot, that covers the entire cell. Now, also word association. A law is general, and a theory is broad. So the law of gravity is very general. It describes why I'm not floating, why I'm not Buzz Lightyear. It'd be really cool to be, but I'm not. A theory is very broad. It explains the entire cell. Okay. All right. So in a lab, I decide I want to turn a disaccharide into two monosaccharides. What process would I use? First of all, what's a disaccharide? All right, let's break it down. What? Two. Good. So di, that's horrible, but we don't care. Di means two, saccharide means sugar. So it's two sugars linked together. So we have one ring, two rings, and they're linked. So it's a big molecule. I want to turn this into two monosaccharides, which a monosaccharide is one. So I want to turn it into, imagine these look the same. They really don't, but it's fine. I want to turn it into that. What process would that be? Okay. Good. What made you change your mind?
I was thinking that
Oh, okay. You're totally fine. So we're going from one molecule and we're breaking it. Hydrolysis, hydrolysis. We're adding water to break. Very good. All right, the process in which a polysaccharide is made. What's polysaccharide? Many sugars. So I'm just drawing circles because I'm not drawing. There we go. Lots of polysaccharides. How do I make that? Good. Dehydration synthesis. Good. Now, does this concept seem clear? Because I know that Minty did not go that great the other day. So is this clearer? Good. Okay. Water is added into a molecule during hydrolysis. Good. Water is expelled from a molecule during. Good. What's not a function? Well, that's supposed to be carbs, not cards. Sorry about that. Hopefully y'all figured that out. What is not a function of carbs? Okay, good. We haven't gotten to this, but DNA or nucleic, well, actually not DNA, nucleic acids. Hold the genetic material. Okay, so these are the two major functions of carbs. Good. Okay, carbs are hydrophilic or hydrophobic? Hydrophilic. Why are they hydrophilic? They like water. What makes them like water? They're polar. What makes them polar? Oxygen. Good. Good, guys. Okay, so they're hydrophilic because they're polar, and they're polar because they have lots of oxygen. Good. And another way to remember this is water is H2O, so oxygen is in water. That's how I like to stick it in my head. Good job. Okay, what are the two distinct parts of a phospholipid? Good. So remember, this is what we talked about in class today. You have a polar head, and then you have two nonpolar tails. Good. What's that molecule? How do you know it's carb? Lots of hydroxyls. Good. So hydroxyl, 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 hydroxyl. Does anybody remember what that's called? Actually, no, that's not it. Never mind. Never mind. All right. Good. So that's actually weird how they did that. Anyway, a carb has many OHs and at least one carbonyl, which is a C with a double bonded O. Now, that's not the best way to identify them. Most of the time, just look at all the hydroxyls. But the distinguishing parts of a carb, let me move this down because that looks a little crowded. C with a double bonded O, that's a carbonyl. Or a carbonyl. People call them both. Same word, just pronounced different. Okay? All right, what's this? How'd you figure it out? Okay, but look, it's got one oxygen, two oxygens. Man. Why does that not matter? Good. So, no lipid will never have no oxygen. Okay? Every single lipid at least has one. The biggest fallback I see of students is on the exam. They'll have a molecule and they'll be like, well, there's two oxygens, so it's carb. Yeah, there is two oxygens, but you got to take into account that every single little tick, and I'm doing really horrible at drawing this, is a carbon. So do not see 1 to 2 oxygens and automatically default to carb. Take into account that ratio. Good job. And actually, for your wealth of knowledge, this is a triglyceride. That's the actual format. All right, last one. Phospholipids are most commonly known for making up the cell membrane. Good. And remember that the cell membrane is a phospholipid phospholipid bilayer. Because they kind of form in like this, and their tails tuck in. And when we actually get to cell theory, which is next unit, a lot more of this will make sense, but they'll actually tuck in. And that is to help things such as membrane transport. Okay. So that's all of that game. I have a PowerPoint that says the exact same stuff, but if there is a section that you all aren't that certain of, I'd be happy to go over it. Is there any section or anything you want me to hit again? Okay. You all are free to go. I'll hang around if you have any questions. Don't forget research lesson 2 is due Saturday. Sure.